rare and balanced view on politics in today's world. Based on facts, born of rationality, common sense, and logic, providing context on today's events. This is American Perspective with Rick Thomas.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to American Perspective. I am your host, Rick. Oh, my gosh. You know, I don't even think we're going to be able to make it to like 1 year, realistically, without having a whole bunch of things exposed and brought out into the light of truth. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, let's be honest. There's so much that is coming out. And this, honestly, I think this is exactly what the Democrats were concerned about in terms of what was going to be revealed with everything that's been going on with a second Trump presidency, which is exactly what we're getting. We're getting exactly what we wanted. And the left is just going nuts. In fact, they're so crazy about everything. They are trying to use this Wall Street Journal Epstein letter thing as like, this is the silver bullet that's going to take Trump down. Trump is a pedophile. Okay, look, Trump's not a pedophile. He is a man who is, like I've said before, he's a mud monster. He doesn't give a rip. When he was younger, yes, he is, some would call misogynistic, other would call chauvinistic. He is from an era that, is very vocal about attractive women. And, he doesn't try to hide it. Locker room talk, things like that. I mean, that's what he is. That's what he used to be. This is nothing surprising for anybody. This is nothing surprising for anyone who absolutely knew who Trump was. But trying to take this letter and turn it into something that it's not is, that's the only thing the left has left. Anyway, let's go ahead and get things kicked off. Before I do, though, I just want to tell you that there's these legal terms that are used, misfeasance and malfeasance. And the difference between the two basically boils down to intent. So misfeasance is generally something that was, in terms of a legal term, something that is legal to do, but was done in a illegal way. In other words, it is a accident per se. It's a mistake. Malfeasance, on the other hand, adds the level of intent, meaning that the person knew what they were doing and they went ahead and did it anyway. And that's where I think we're at right now, in terms of looking at some of the things that are starting to be exposed as the malfeasance is showing up. All right, I also have a fantastic question of the week for later on at the end of the program, so stay around for that. Let's go ahead and get things kicked off here with our buddy. That's literally our buddy. Buddy is, I don't know, he hasn't shown up in the chat tonight. I know I'm hoping that he is doing okay. If I don't hear from him soon, or if we don't hear from him soon, I'll probably call and see if I can get a hold of him and at least make sure that he's doing all right. But let's go ahead with Buddy. Buddy put in the Pledge of Allegiance a long time ago, and let's go ahead and follow along with him. So please, if you are of mine, please stand, remove your hat. If you're wearing one like me, place your hand over your heart and follow along with Buddy Weiser as he recites the Pledge of Allegiance.
I hereby pledge my allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which she stands, one nation under one God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all her citizens. So help me God.
Thank you for that wonderful rendition, buddy. If you would like to hear your version of the pledge played here on the program, all you need to do is record yourself reciting or performing the pledge in your style, and then take that audio file, video file, whatever kind of file, and attach it to an email. Send it off to me. Send it to fans, F-A-N-S, at AmericanPerspective.online. That's fans, F-A-N-S, at AmericanPerspective.online. And I will get you into the rotation. I've got 16 of these things. I would love to have several more. If you haven't done it already, I do encourage you. I know it's a little daunting thinking that, hey, this is going to be on a nationally televised, or internationally, I should say, televised broadcast, but I promise you it's really not that difficult to do, and you can get it in, and we'll get it added and all of that kind of stuff. Hey, for those of you who are over on Facebook, just a side note, did you notice I posted a memory from back in 2023 where I got memed by B. Crespin, and Hannah actually got memed by B. Crespin as well. It was the old Whiskey Musings logo that was digitally added to Hannah Giles' shirt. And yeah, it was kind of fun. And so I posted that, and I tagged Hannah again. I need to reach out to Jay Bose. I need to figure out where Jay Money is to see what's going on with him too. But anyway, I thought it was kind of fun for that. So it's, obviously B. Crespin, who was part of the Mark K. Show crew, he memed a lot of things, and to get memed by B. Crespin was sort of an honor. And so there we go. That's what's going on. All right, tonight, and Bonnie is going to hate me, but tonight I am trying to finish out the Bullet Bourbon. Again, moving some things around on the shelf, trying to get some more openings for what's going on. But I will have to admit, it is in this fantastic, wonderful, beautiful gift given to me by my Whiskey Warrior fans, just wonderful fans. They created this glass for me, and yep, American Perspective, the American Perspective logo, and yeah, there it is. And of course, it has the requisite stones in the bottom, because it takes stones to drink with whiskey, but tonight it's out of the American Perspective glass. So beautiful. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. And obviously I'm getting use out of them. So I have requisite first sip. Ooh. Ooh, that went up the nose. It's not supposed to do that. I don't know what the hell I was doing. Woo! Okay. Wow. I just need another one just to clear my throat from the last one. Yeah, you're listening to me choke on air. Woo! Yeah, it's smooth. Anyway. Woo! That one started to approach the backside of the nostrils. Huh. You're going to see my face get red here in a minute. And yeah, I forgot how to drink. Damn. Woo. All right. Let's move on to tonight's headline sponsor. I don't know if I'm going to be able to read this, but whatever. We'll give it a try. The Institute on the Constitution was established in 2004 as a 501c3 nonprofit with one singular mission, and that is to restore the constitutional republic through grassroots education. All courses and materials are developed using primary source documents and taught from the American view of law and government as defined in the Declaration of Independence in the following 3 key points. 1, there is a God. 2, our rights come from him. And 3, the purpose of civil government is to secure and protect our God-given rights. The IOTC offers the opportunity to educate yourself on our most precious founding document, the Constitution of the United States. They also provide tools to educate your community and get involved with local government. Start by taking their free U.S. Constitution course and go from there. Use my affiliate link, iotc.americanperspective.online, to sign up, and while you are there, take a moment to look through their other course material and information. My affiliate link, once again, is iotc.americanperspective.online to get great content to learn about our historical founding and support the show in the process. That's iotc.americanperspective.online. Or, oh goodness, if you just want to purchase this fabulous Saddleback leather-bound U.S. Constitution to support the show and give a leftist explosive diarrhea by having it, buy the book, yes. Anyway, go to constitution.americanperspective.online and get yours. Take a look at this. This has got 1/8 of an inch of Saddleback leather wrapped around pages that are water and tear resistant. No cheap glue here, folks. It is stitched all the way through the leather and the pages contained within. It's got a 100-year warranty against materials and manufacturing defects, such that if there is a problem, you can send it back to the manufacturer and they will either fix it or replace it for free. It is buddy tested, buddy approved, Billy tasted, Billy approved, and my youngest whiskey warrior has confirmed that the information contained within will help you to study for and achieve your civics badge in Scouts. all the amendments are in numerical order, and as my whiskey warrior P1 say, it has sexy rounded corners. Go to constitution.americanperspective.online to get yours today, and don't forget to check out the rest of the Institute on the Constitution and all of their wonderful offerings. They've got some great stuff there. Telling you, they got great stuff. I've got a bunch, which I need to make use of, but I've got a bunch of it. Anyway, all right. And of course, I thank them for allowing me to be a brand affiliate. Ooh. You know, that whole thing with the whiskey, I'm telling you, if you guys think this is not live, that this is a recorded program, I'm telling you, this is a live show that I do record and put the audio portion up. So the audio portion isn't live, but the video portion definitely is. That's part of the reason why you need to be involved. Come on over to rumble.com and get involved today. All right. So the probes into the Joe Biden mental decline cover-up investigation keeps moving forward, and the third Biden insider is now, or has now, pled the fifth. Now, keep in mind, again, just from a legal standpoint, pleading the fifth isn't necessarily admitting to anything, all right? However, it does potentially, at least in the minds of the people, tend to, make people think that, maybe there's something more here than meets the eye. Uh-oh. I'm being told I fell off the train. I fell off the whiskey train, well, because they're reminding me now that I forgot the first segment of the night that always comes up. So let's backtrack, and we'll go on to the first segment of the evening, which is, first segment of the evening. There we go. On this day in American history. Ooh, and of course, for On This Day in American History, we read from the American Patriots Almanac, written by William J. Bennett, John T. E. Cribb, chock full of all kinds of information and little factoids about all of our country, wonderful. Anyway. Yeah, all right. Let's get on with it. This show is off the rails. It already is, and it's a Saturday, so yeah. Yeah, teacher glasses, it's reading glasses is what they are, but anyway, I'm completely, Anyway, all right, let's talk about the Seneca Falls Convention. In 1840, when American abolitionists Elizabeth Cady Stanton and Lucretia Mott traveled to the World Anti-Slavery Convention in London, they were discouraged to find that women could not participate. female delegates had to sit quietly and watch the proceedings in an area curtained off from the main hall. The irony that women lacked the freedom to speak at a meeting about freedom for slaves was not lost on Stanton and Mott. They told each other that someday they would hold a convention to discuss their own rights. 8 years later, on July 19th, 1848, Stanton stood on a platform inside the Wesleyan Chapel in Seneca Falls, New York, and opened the nation's first conference on women's rights. Unaccustomed to speaking in public, she was nervous about addressing the room full of women and men. She later said that she felt like abandoning all her principles and running away. Instead, she slowly read a draft Declaration of Rights and Sentiments modeled on the Declaration of Independence. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men and women are created equal, it ran. That afternoon, the convention discussed resolutions calling for women to have rights and responsibilities equal to men's. The most radical resolution demanded suffrage for women. Even Lucretia Mott, a devout Quaker, wondered if that step was too bold. Why, Lizzie, thee will make us look ridiculous, she told Stanton. But abolitionist Frederick Douglass, in attendance, convinced the crowd that women's suffrage was necessary and right. Reactions to the two-day meeting were mixed. Some newspapers praised it, while others mocked the effort of women out of their latitude. That women out of their latitude is a quote, by the way. It would take decades for women to achieve many of the conference's goals, but the Seneca Falls Convention helped launch a struggle that ultimately changed the place of women in much of the world. And that is today's On This Day in American History. Women have every right to be here. Just, kick off. And yeah, guys, I've known some very wise women in my life. I'm surrounded by them in many ways. All right. Let's get back to the to the story at hand. The third Biden insider pleads the fifth. So the third person to do this is Annie Tomasini, who is a longtime aide to former President Joe Biden, and his former deputy chief of staff invoked the Fifth Amendment during a deposition on Capitol Hill yesterday, becoming the third Biden associate in recent days to refuse to answer questions under oath before the House Oversight Committee. Tomasini's decision follows similar moves by Joe Biden's former chief of staff, Anthony Bernal, and Biden's personal physician, Dr. Kevin O'Connor, both of whom also pleaded the fifth before the committee. So, yeah, there we go. House Oversight Chairman James Comer, in a statement after the deposition, said, "There's now a pattern of key Biden confidants seeking to shield themselves from criminal liability in this potential conspiracy." Okay. So, yep. Oh, breaking news, by the way. David Cheney over on Facebook says he is marked safe from the kiss cam at the Coldplay concert. Just so you know. Sorry, I had to throw that in there. Anyway, Tomasini declined to respond to questions about whether the White House directed her to lie about Biden's health or conceal information regarding classified materials and the Biden family's business dealings. According to Comer, Tomasini also refused to answer whether she had advised President Biden on handling classified documents or if she had been involved in hiding or destroying sensitive materials found at Biden's home or office. Comer said, "It's apparent that they would rather hide key information to protect themselves and Joe Biden than be truthful with the American people about this historic scandal." Yeah. So, there you go. I mean, again, keep in mind, all right, that I'm just pointing this out, okay? Just pointing this out once again, that just because you claim the fifth doesn't necessarily mean you're guilty. Doesn't necessarily show that you're innocent either. So, yeah. I'm just saying. Anyway, so yeah, this is going to be the typical kind of thing. I don't know where they're going to come up with the idea that these people are actually going to like throw Biden under the bus. Because that would mean that they are complicit in criminal activity and could be charged themselves, which is part of the reason why somebody would claim the fifth. You believe that you have potentially done something that could get you into legal hot water. And so that's what's going to happen here. Now, Ms. T of Texas is saying, well, they must be innocent because they didn't get a pardon already. Well, I hate to tell you this, but I'm not sure those pardons are actually going to stand up because the auto pen stuff is, that's heating up as well. Speaking of another power grab, yeah, the WHO, the World Health Organization, attempted, the UN has been trying to get the U.S. to actually, give up its constitutional sovereignty for years, and they've been attempting to do it through the health organization. So anyway, the World Health Organization, according to This in LifeSet, did a power grab that threatened American sovereignty, and it was rejected by RFK Jr. and Marco Rubio, which makes sense. So the proposed amendments that were announced on Friday, the State and Health and Human Services announced on Friday that the U.S. will formally reject a set of amendments to the international health regulations adopted by the World Health Assembly in 2024. The proposed amendments would have significantly expanded the WHO's authority during public health emergencies. The departments issued a joint statement asserting that the amendments posed serious risks to U.S. sovereignty and domestic public health decision-making. Without action, the regulations were set to take effect and become binding on the U.S., which I can't quite figure out. How can you bind a country, especially one like the U.S.? What are you going to do? Are you going to try and enforce it via force? I mean, seriously. That's kind of like honestly, that's sort of like the SCOTUS attempting to enforce some sort of legislation on one of the other branches of government if they decide to not do it, which that has happened in our past, in our history. Andrew Jackson actually did that. He told SCOTUS to go jump off a cliff once, and nothing ever came of it. But anyway, the regulations were supposedly to take effect and become binding on the U.S. on July 19th, even though the country is no longer a member of the WHO. Okay, we're not even a member. What? How are you going to enforce this? That's the big question. That's what you need to ask anytime. How are you going to enforce this? So, according to the statement, the amended IHR would grant the WHO the authority to impose measures such as global lockdowns, travel restrictions, and other mandates in response to potential public health risks, a term critics say is overly broad and undefined. I would agree. The departments further warned that the amendments failed to address what they called the WHO's susceptibility to political influence and censorship. Let's all face it, the WHO is run by China. Okay, that's that. All you have to do is look at what the WHO was saying during the COVID period. They, vehemently denounced the idea of the Wuhan lab leak, which essentially is where the damn COVID virus came from, but they went ahead and, they were saying, oh, no, that's not possible. Yeah. So anyway, the departments, both departments, U.S. departments, pointed specifically to the organization's actions during the COVID-19 outbreak and its interactions with China that I just described. So the statement continued and said, they also suggest that countries develop capabilities that jeopardize management and dissemination controls over public health information, potentially stifling valuable scientific debate. And then added that these proposals would, quote, compel countries to adopt digital health documents. So in other words, exactly what the President Biden was attempting to do during the COVID-19 health situation. So RFK Jr. issued a video statement on Friday reiterating his opposition to the amendments and warning that their adoption could enable widespread censorship under the guise of public health. He said these amendments open the door to the kind of narrative management, propaganda, and censorship that we saw during the COVID pandemic. Totally agree with you there, RFK. Gotcha. Message received, sir. Secretary of State Marco Rubio also criticized the proposal, saying the language used in the IHR amendments was too vague and potentially subject to political abuse. You think? Rubio said in the joint statement, the terminology is vague and broad, risking coordinated international responses that focus on political issues like solidarity rather than rapid and effective actions. Yeah. I don't know why we don't just leave the UN, honestly. I mean, it's a defunct organization. We should just kick them all out, take back that part of New York City, and demolish the building. And I do mean demolish it, because don't get me wrong. I'm sure China's put all kinds of listening devices all through the building, but demolish the entire building, and then of course build a Trump Tower on that spot. Yeah. Hi, Palms. All right. Well, NPR and the discussion about NPR has, again, been questionable. And this is, of course, after the fact that the rescission bill, the $9 billion rescission bill, was signed into law by Donald Trump. Anyway, the NPR, in the past, they've tried to claim that they are not, biased in any way. Really, not biased. Okay, well, here, MRC Newsbusters. NPR blames climate change for the Texas floods and the rainstorms. Already discussed this with you. There is a perfectly reasonable explanation as to why the Texas floods occurred, tragic as they are. It was a once in a blue moon kind of event where the weather system that brought the rain hung over the top of an area where there really isn't much in terms of topsoil or porous material to suck away the water. So the water has no place to go other than run along the surface. Anyway, these freaking NPR nitwits are like, oh yeah, climate change. Climate change is fueling brutal rainstorms, and here's how to stay safe. That was a ridiculous headline for NPR's July 15th Consider This podcast. Yeah. Anyway, these people. Look, climate change is real in terms of the fact that it's weather. It happens. Okay. Climate change happens. It's happened for the entire existence of the planet. Now, that being said, human-effected climate change is a complete hoax. There's not enough information to demonstrate that anything that humans are doing in particular is affecting the climate on the planet. See, there's this big burning ball of gases that's like out in the solar system. It's called our sun. And, how the planet, the tilt of its axis and where it is on its elliptical as it's rotating through the planetary system. Yeah, all of that affects the weather, too. So, by the way, too, for those of you that don't remember 4th grade and 5th grade science, So does the moon. The moon provides changes in our weather and changes in things such as the tides. That's the gravitational pull of a celestial object that is severely smaller than the Earth. And not to mention the fact, as I pointed out on this program, and 3 Chevy reminds me of that fact, that China, Russia, and India are all major contributors to what would be considered to be the global gases that climate change produces, and yet none of them are interested in cutting any of that stuff out. So let's not even mention the fact that there's pictures of locations on this planet that are 100 years old, and there is not a measurable difference in, say, for an example, the rise of the seas. In fact, there was conversations about how, Antarctica is losing its ice. Well, then here we are, 10 years later, and oh my God, our Antarctica just picked up everything plus more in new ice on the other side of the continent. Yeah. Folks, it's all questionable at best and bad science at worst. They keep talking about how we only have 12 years to live here on this planet, and yet that was back in the 1970s when they first started talking about that, and I'm still here. And I am much older than 12. I'm going to tell you that. Anyway, so NPR, this lady on NPR, she, the NPR CEO, well, she went on, a couple of different programs, and she is trying to say, hey, guess what? Yeah, we are not partisan. We are not partisan, really. Well, let's just take it at her word. Here she is.
As far as the accusations that we're biased, I would stand up and say, please show me a story that concerns you, because we want to know and we want to bring that conversation back to our newsroom. As far as the accusations that we're biased.
Yep. Yeah, accusations that you are biased. She not only did that there, but she also did it here. Let's go, let's see. Whoops, there we go. Here we go.
When it comes to the accusation of bias, I would start, as I always start by saying, which is we, of course, are a nonpartisan organization, and we want to serve and are required to serve the entirety of the American public. When it comes
Yeah, you're nonpartisan, all right. You're so nonpartisan.
Now, when Press Powell says he takes serious.
You're so nonpartisan, by the way, that our good old buddy, John Kennedy, Senator John Kennedy, had to point out some partisanship. Oh, I love this guy. Take a listen.
I want to give you a few examples of stories that NPR has published using taxpayer money. I'll just read the headlines. First headline, NPR News Service. Michael Avenatti, quote, a profile of the media-savvy attorney. They love Michael Avenatti. You know where Michael Avenatti is today? He's in jail. You know why? He's a crook. But for a while, he was a media darling on NPR. Here's another headline from NPR. How racism became a marketing tool for country music. I kid you not. The American taxpayers are spending $500 million a year to pay a local station to buy content that says country music is racist. Here's another headline from NPR. Donald Trump's long embrace of Vladimir Putin. Remember the Russiagate? Steele dossier? NPR was right in there promoting it. A couple more headlines that NPR is putting out there using your tax dollars. This headline, monuments and teams have changed names. Let me say it again. Monuments and teams, presumably sports teams, have changed names as America reckons with racism. Birds are next. I don't know any birds that are racist. Here's another headline. Eating less beef is a climate solution. Eating less beef is a climate solution. I don't have anything against vegetarians. I'm a semi-vegetarian myself. I eat beef and cows eat grass. Well, that makes me a semi-vegetarian. But that's my choice. Not on NPR. Eating less beef is a climate solution. Here's why that's hard for some American men. Here's a final headline. I could go on the rest of the evening. How the Taliban adds to Afghanistan's woes when it comes to climate-fueled disasters. Boy, I can tell you that's on the mind of every person in Afghanistan today, is climate change.
All right. So the one thing that I want to point out, first of all, is everybody, because of the way that he speaks, that Kennedy speaks, there's a lot of people who would look at him and be like, oh, yeah, you're just like some stupid southern backwoods, you know. It's the leftist elitists that all believe this. And that's exactly what he's pointing out here, is that NPR is playing to just one group of people and one group of people only, and that is the leftist, lunatic, moron, elitist group that is out there. This is not a publicly funded, nonpartisan, middle-of-the-road, reporting the facts outlet. It never has been. It never has been. And, again, I told you, NPR was pretty much designed to try and make a splash and be a part of the conservative talk genre that had been sparked by none other than Rush Limbaugh. This guy, I got to tell you, I love Kennedy. He's just so great. Well, anyway, yeah, NPR is defunded now from the American coffers. I'm sure they're still getting some money because it takes a little while for these laws to actually go into effect, but NPR is gone as far as being paid out of Congress. And also, too, so is the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. That one's gone as well. So, yeah. Anyway, it's just such a mess. All right, let me go ahead and get this out of the way before I move on to my next story. I start my day with a big old cup of coffee, 16 ounces. From my kids. Come on. I gotta use this cup, but believe me, it is well used. This well-used cup, I'm telling you. Okay. So, this is a well-used cup. And in it is always 16 ounces of coffee my way. Well, if you still haven't tried 1775 coffee, now is your shot. The 1775 starter kit has dropped. There are a limited number of units available, and in each unit, you will be getting the bold dark roast that hits harder than a CNN fact check, the smooth medium roast, as well as the Vitality Mushroom Coffee. And you can get to try all three of them. Now, the Vitality Mushroom Coffee is designed for clean energy and laser focus with no crash. All of these coffees are single origin, small batch, toxin free, and mold free. Plus, you're also going to be getting my personal favorite, a gold spoon clip, because freedom isn't scooped with plastic. You'll also be getting a frother strong enough to stir up your coffee and your mother-in-law's political opinions. You'll also receive a black 1775 tumbler that says, I don't take life advice or caffeine from a woke sea witch. It's $170 worth of coffee and gear, yours for just $99. This is for the ones who have been watching 1775 Coffee blow up on Rumble and are wondering if it's actually worth it. Spoiler alert, it is. Go to 1775coffee.com/studio. That / is the question mark key. Go to 1775coffee.com /studio and grab your starter kit before they're gone. Bold beans, clean fuel, and a morning routine that stands for something just like Rumble does. Start your day with coffee that actually backs what you believe. Go to 1775coffee.com /studio, STUDIO, and grab your starter kit today. All right. Rumble page disappeared. Anyway. All right. Do you know that there's still people out there? There are still morons out there who really and truly believe that Trump was hit in Butler, Pennsylvania by an attempted assassin's bullet. There's still people out there who still do not believe, who still believe that it might be fake. One of them ended up being on a show, the CNN show, with none other than Scott Jennings. I love Scott Jennings. But anyway, the guy's name is, he's a far left journalist, so this doesn't this doesn't surprise anybody, by the way. But the far left journalist named Toure, Toure with a little chick over it, claimed that Trump, quote unquote, supposedly got shot in the ear, saying that there was never any confirmation of that from his doctor. Really? Trump's former physician, Dr. Ronnie Jackson, wrote that the president sustained a gunshot wound in the right ear that came less than a quarter of an inch from entering his head and struck the top of his right ear. He also added that the bullet track produced a 2-centimeter wide wound that extended down to the cartilaginous surface of the ear. There was initially significant bleeding, followed by marked swelling of the upper ear. Yeah. Anyway, Toure, whatever his freaking name is. Anyway, he kind of made a mistake and sort of said something on this little round table thing. Yeah, well, let's go ahead and take a listen here.
Wait. He supposedly got shot in the ear. We never heard from his doctors on that.
Did you say supposedly?
When did we hear from his doctors? When did we hear from his doctors?
Hold on. If y'all stop screaming at the table, maybe I can actually respond.
Supposedly?
Hold on.
Supposedly.
Okay.
That's where we are now.
Hold on a second. Toure, he was shot in the ear.
Thank you for clearing that up.
All right.
But we can hear from the doctors. We would always hear from his doctors.
Did we hear from his doctors? Did we hear from his doctors?
Is this really
Scott,
your argument?
I mean,
is this
Scott,
the best
did we hear
argument
from
you
his
have?
doctors?
I mean, all I know is I went to the Republican National Convention and he had
that would be no.
a bandage on his ear.
All right.
I don't.
He had blood on his face. Where did it come from?
Hold on a second.
Thank you for being intellectual.
Why are we?
Gentlemen,
thank you.
Toure, gentlemen, just 1 second. I think this is like a total off the. This is not really what we're talking about, because one of the reasons he.
Well, that last little bit was obviously cut off, but I'm going to tell you something, folks. He was shot in the ear. There is photographic evidence of such. Let me show you. You guys think I'm going to be nuts? No, there's photographic evidence. Here it is right here. This is a snap of a camera that was taking a series of photos at the moment the bullet was passing by President Trump's head. You can see the shock wave. In other words, the wave that was cutting through the air, okay, by the bullet as it passes by Donald Trump's head. Now, granted, the angle looks a little off because you got to remember Donald Trump is up on a podium while the photographer is down in the crowd. So the angle's a little off here. But you can see in this photo that I'm showing, right above my head is a circled area where the actual air and the humid air, by the way, is being pushed out of the way by the bullet. Now, here's the thing. The left keeps saying, oh, it was a blood capsule that he was holding in his hand. Really? I draw your attention to this hand right here. Does that look like there's anything in it? Do you think that he's got anything in his hand, whether it's in between his fingers or maybe under his thumb? No, it doesn't look like it. That is the hand, his right hand, that is going to go to his ear in the next frame. So notice that. And now, here's the series in order. So here is the first photo, once again, with the shock wave of the bullet passing behind him. There's his hand, once again, as I pointed out. Then we go to the next frame that was caught. There's Donald Trump. You can see it behind the microphone. There's the grimace on his head, on his face, as he realizes, oh, damn, that hurts. And his right hand goes up to his ear. Now, here is the next frame. Holy freaking crap. You morons. And yes, I'm talking to you, you leftist lunatic morons, stupid idiots. Look what's there on that hand. Oh, could that be? Yes, it actually is. Granted, it's pixelated because I'm zooming in quite often into it, but you can clearly see there is a difference between the color of his hand and the color of the blood that is on the fingers that were just removed from the ear that got buzzed by that bullet. I am so tired of this. These morons. And that is literally a frame by frame, a once in a lifetime, as 3 Chevy pointed out, a once in a lifetime photography event. Whoever this guy is, or whoever this person is who got this photo series, man, I'm telling you, they caught history. And I'm getting sick and tired of these people who are sitting here saying that Donald Trump faked this. He didn't fake this. He didn't fake it. He didn't have 2 people die just to set this up, that this was a setup. It wasn't a setup by Donald Trump. If it was anything, it was a setup. It would be by the Biden administration, who we now know, by the way, that withheld the information with regards to the man's potential threat assessment against him. That Chuck Grassley has been demonstrating that the failures of the Secret Service in order to take decisive action on what was considered to be a credible international intelligence threat to Donald Trump's life. Yeah. Anyway, I'm tired of you stupid asses. Really. Just shut up and go away. All right. Well, we are starting to unravel and uncover and dig up the truth about a lot of things that has been going on for the last, let's say 12 years or more. One of them, and this, it goes all the way back to the quote-unquote hack on the DNC. You remember that? The hack on the DNC? Oh, yeah, the DNC was hacked and its information was leaked and so on and so forth. Yeah. Well, the FBI and the NSA at the time had low confidence that Russia was actually behind the Democrat National Committee hack on their servers. And that particular assessment, according to the Epoch Times, was scrapped after the agencies dissented. But the Obama administration proceeded to accuse Moscow of this. So, in the heat of the 2016 election, the FBI and the National Security Agency dissented from an intelligence community assessment, which judged that Russia was behind the alleged hack of the DNC servers and the subsequent release of stolen emails. The FBI and NSA instead had a low confidence in the attribution to Russia, according to a September 12, 2016 intelligence community assessment released to the public for the first time on July 18th as part of a batch of records that were declassified by the Office of the DNI. The FBI and NSA, however, have low confidence in the attribution of the data leaks to Russia, the assessment states. They agree that the disclosures appear consistent with what we might expect from Russian influence activities, but note that we lack sufficient technical details to correlate the information posted online to Russian state-sponsored actors. Now, this memo, which was prepared for Barack Obama, none other than the President of the United States at the time, dated 2 days after the assessment, blames Russia for the hack and the leak, but does not mention the dissent by the FBI and the NSA, according to these newly released documents. So the revelation is just the latest twist in a decade-long controversy which lies at the very root of the now discredited Russian collusion narrative, which ensnared the incoming Trump administration in 2017 and metamorphosized into the special counsel investigation by Robert Mueller. Mueller concluded the investigation with no evidence to support the claim that Russia had colluded with then-candidate Donald Trump to influence the election. Now, the hacking of the DNC, of course, was central to this whole collusion narrative. The FBI's having low confidence that Russia was actually behind the breach is significant because the Bureau had received, 3 weeks prior to dissenting with the assessment, the final report on the hack by none other than CrowdStrike, which was the private cybersecurity firm hired by the DNC to remediate the hack in the spring of 2016. The CrowdStrike reports have never been made public. The company's then president, Sean Henry, told the House Intelligence Committee in late 2017 that his firm had literally no evidence that the files were stolen from the DNC systems. Yeah. And yet on October 7th, 2016, less than a month after the assessment marked by the FBI and NSA dissent, the United States went ahead and accused Russia of hacking the DNC and leaking the files with the intent to interfere with the U.S. elections process. Obama approved the release of that statement, which was made public via a joint release by the Office of the Director of National Intelligence and the Department of Homeland Security. Yeah. October 7th was one of the most eventful days of the 2016 presidential cycle. This was the day of the release of the Access Hollywood audio recording of Trump. It also was the day of the release of the first batch of emails of former Obama counselor John Podesta. October 7th was also a time when the FBI was still working on obtaining a copy of the DNC server images to conduct a forensic analysis. It is unclear if the FBI changed its low confidence assessment before the release of the public statement accusing Russia. So here we are. Once again, folks. Malfeasance by people within the Obama administration set up this entire situation where they attempted to try and usurp the duly elected incoming president and his incoming administration in such a way to make it to where he could literally do hardly anything during his first part of his administration. Now, Tulsi Gabbard has declassified some bombshells. In this particular case, she has declassified specific bombshells on Obama's involvement in the attempted coup against the incoming president, Donald John Trump, in his first administration. Now, this, I'm going to tell you right now, this is on the level, seriously, on the level greater than the Watergate scandal. You add this up with the auto pen, with the Biden administration having a de facto puppet president in the office. This is exactly what Obama said he wanted when he was on the, I think it was Late Night with Stephen Colbert, where he said that what he wanted to do was essentially be, if he could run for a third term, he just wanted to be the guy in the basement in his sweats, telling somebody else on the podium what to say and what to do. And I can almost guarantee you that while that was initially thought of as a joke, potentially is playing out for us in real time. Potentially right here. Well, she went ahead and dropped some bombshells here. Here is her account on X. And this is where it starts. She posted a bunch of seriously, images that demonstrate what's going on here. And the biggest one, the start of this, is that you have the real intel assessment where the intel basically said Russia and criminal actors did not, I'm going to say it again, not impact recent U.S. election results by conducting cyber attacks on infrastructure. So that was for the 2016 election. Donald Trump wins it. Then on December 9th, according to these released documents, right here, you'll see there was a secret meeting regarding Russia. The Obama officials met to plan the Russia hoax. On December 8th, there was a POTUS briefing that was pulled. The intelligence community pulls product that contradicts the Russia hoax narrative just the day before. And then Obama gives an order to where the IC, the intelligence community, begins outlining new assessments to the claim the election was hacked. Now, you see the complicit deep state leaks are the next thing down here on it, where all of a sudden all the sycophantic mainstream media outlets, they all jump on the bandwagon and they start talking about secret CIA assessment says Russia was trying to help Trump win the White House. Russian hackers acted to help Trump in election, U.S. says. NBC News says U.S. officials, Putin personally involved in the U.S. election hack. Yeah. So then you have the fake weaponized assessment after that, which of course was suppressed prior earlier intelligence showing that Russia had lacked intent and capability to hack the 2016 election. I seem to recall that Donald Trump was saying all of this. He was saying that, yeah, this is a big problem. Well, guess what? The Russia hoax then was created. Here she shows August 31st, a DHS official to DNI Clapper at the time. That was the director of national intelligence. Highlighted here says, we are working with CIA on a PDB submission on the threat. The thrust of the analysis is that there is no indication of a Russian threat to directly manipulate the actual vote count through cyber means. That was on August 31st. Then on September 9th, the lead author of the PDB. We agree with Russia probably is not and will not trying to influence the election by using cyber means to manipulate computer-enabled elections infrastructure. But yet, in December 7th, DNI Clapper had his talking points, and he says, we assess that foreign adversaries did not use cyber attacks on the election infrastructure to alter the U.S. presidential election outcome this year. We have no evidence of cyber manipulation of election infrastructure intended to alter results. So they all knew there was no thing. Now, on December 8th, there was no Russian collusion. December 8th, IC, intelligence community officials discuss the draft PDB, Presidential Daily Brief. Cyber manipulation of U.S. election infrastructure to remain a challenge. Here it is, the top line. We assess that Russian and criminal actors did not impact the recent U.S. election results by conducting malicious cyber activities against election infrastructure. So that was on December 8th. Well, then, also on December 8th, in an email, the deputy director of the President's Daily Brief pulls the President's Daily Brief, saying that based on some new guidance, we are going to push back publication of the PDB. It will not run tomorrow and is not likely to run until next week. And we have the next one. So Obama had a secret White House meeting on the Russian election meddling. On December 9th, an email to the ODNI leaders. The IC is prepared to produce an assessment per the president's request. The ODNI will lead the effort with participation from the CIA, FBI, NSA, and DHS. So the higher-ups, which is rare for them to be involved, went ahead and are a part of being involved. Then, the fake news, of course, on December 9th, they get all the talking points. The intelligence community leaks to the Washington Post, though Russia has long conducted cyber spying on U.S. agencies, companies, and organizations. This presidential campaign marks the first time Russia has attempted, through cyber means, to interfere in, if not actively influence, the outcome of the election. Really? I thought I just read some things to you that they did not believe at all that Russia had done anything in terms of a cyber attack. But yet, here it is in the mainstream media. Another part of it in the Washington Post, the CIA has concluded in a secret assessment that Russia intervened in the 2016 election to help Donald Trump win the presidency, rather than to just undermine confidence in the U.S. electoral system, according to officials briefed on the matter. Really? On December 14th, another leak to NBC News this time. U.S. intelligence officials now believe with a high level of confidence that Russian President Vladimir Putin became personally involved in the covert Russian campaign to interfere with the U.S. presidential election, senior U.S. intelligence officials told NBC News. Folks, all I got to tell you is this. This is bigger than Watergate. This is literally an outgoing administration working to undermine our republic and the incoming duly elected president of the United States. If this isn't close, or if this isn't classified as treason or at the very least sedition, this is going to be and go down in history as one of the worst times within America's history. This is ridiculous. To even think that these people took the time, took the energy, took the wherewithal to attempt to usurp our republic and our constitutional format in terms of coming in and out. And you wonder why Donald Trump is so salty against many of these people. This was all made up. Now here, September 18th, 2019, an intelligence community official admits the Steele dossier was a factor in Obama's intelligence community assessment. Says here, Shelby believes this should be responded to by the NIC as the dossier was a factor in the 2017 ICA on election interference, in which an assessment of the document was added as an annex. Now, don't forget, Clapper, Brennan, Comey, they were all in on it. Every single one of them was in on it. This is ridiculous, folks. And you wonder why the American people do not have trust in our institutions anymore? It's because of BS like this. It's because of crap like this. Telling you the deep state exists, but only in the fact that there is a group of people, group of individuals who have dived in and are literally attempting to usurp our constitutionally run government. Now, PJ Media has another article here. This, the title says, Obama admin engineered the Russian hoax to undermine Trump, documents revealed. So this is all part of the same thing, and there's overwhelming evidence that Barack Obama himself and his national security inner circle went to work immediately after Donald Trump's stunning 2016 victory over Hillary Clinton. Now, here's my assumptions. Here's my opinion. Here's my assessment of what happened. Everybody believed all of the polling. 96% of the polls all showed that Hillary Clinton was going to be the next president of the United States. And when she lost, they had to come up with something. They had to create something because they knew, especially given the fact that he was going to jail Hillary Clinton for her email scandal. Now, keep in mind, this isn't the only thing. The Russian collusion hoax is just the central point where things started really going wrong. You've got to go back a little bit farther. Think of all the things that Obama did in terms of handing money over to Iran, in terms of all of the things that he attempted to get done by the stroke of his pen and his phone, that he said that he was going to rule by the phone and the pen, and damned if Congress was going to get in his way. That was his complete attitude with the entire thing. And remember, too, I've been talking about his use of the auto pen. For the first time, signing legislation toward that. That was the first time in recorded history of the auto pen use that somebody had used the auto pen outside of the president's presence to sign legislation. Folks, all roads lead to Obama. You think Joe Biden in the last 4 years prior to Trump's second term, do you honestly believe that Biden, having hired a bunch of Obama lackeys into his White House, do you honestly believe that Biden had the mental capacities and the wherewithal in order to resist the Obama administration holdovers in his administration? And we're sitting here talking about who controlled the auto pen. I guarantee you there was one person that everybody defers to. You can see it in public spaces when Obama comes into the White House during the Biden administration. Everybody surrounded Obama and not Joe Biden. Joe Biden was left out in the cold. Joe Biden was not and is not in control of the Democrat Party. Joe Biden was not the man in charge of the Democrat Party. Joe Biden is not the one who was making decisions for the Democrat Party. Joe Biden thinks that he was the one that made Obama. Obama is the one who is in control. Obama is the one who did the email scandal, who did the uranium one, who did the Benghazi scandal. Obama was involved in all of it. Obama was involved and likely involved in the Russian collusion hoax. We are now finding out. Obama is likely going to get tied eventually to the AutoPen scandal. All roads lead to Obama. And I'm even going to go out on a limb and hazard a guess, because there is proof that Barack Hussein Obama, also known as Barry Soetoro, filed for and received foreign aid, foreign student aid, because he claimed to be a foreign student from Kenya. His own brother has gone on record saying that he is not, that President Obama is not an American citizen. He was not a natural-born citizen, which is required by the Constitution. And I'm going to step out on a limb and say that unless Hawaii produces that document and it is fully vetted and verified, there is nothing that anyone can say that would stop me from suspecting that we had for 8 years, we had a Manchurian president, a foreign, non-natural born president in the White House. This is a huge, just a tip of the iceberg, a huge scandal, and a even bigger conspiracy. Not a conspiracy theory, but a conspiracy. And the difference is, a theory is just something that somebody puts together without hardly any evidence. We are now starting to see evidence that is demonstrating that this is a literal conspiracy. All right. Before I move on, let me go ahead and get this break in. All right, attention parents and grandparents. Do you want your child to grow up with a real understanding of the heroes that protect our freedom? Now you can teach them all with the Kids Guide to America's Mighty Military. It's an exciting educational guide that celebrates the courage and dedication of our armed forces. Your child or grandchild will learn about every branch of the military and the important values of service, responsibility, and patriotism. Plus, when you order today, you will also receive the Kids Guide to the B-2 Spirit Bomber, an incredible bonus guide about America's most advanced stealth aircraft, completely free. That's right, free, as in no charge to you. Give your child or grandchild a greater respect for those who serve and protect while making learning fun. Don't wait, supplies are limited. Go to freemilitarybundle.com. That's freemilitarybundle.com. Go to freemilitarybundle.com to claim your free gift bundle now. That's freemilitarybundle.com and order today. Well, Shifty Schiff is in hot water. So here, let me show you, is the criminal referral from the U.S. Federal Housing, FHFA, They are referring to Attorney General Pam Bondi and Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, or Blanche, however it's pronounced. Anyway, he's the head of the director of the housing agency has sent the referral. He's as a regulator of Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, and the federal home loan banks, we take very seriously allegations of mortgage fraud or other criminal activity. Such misconduct jeopardizes the safety and soundness of FHFA's regulated entities and the security and stability of the U.S. mortgage market. In the course of exercising the U.S. Federal Housing Authority's under the Federal Housing Enterprises Financial Safety and Soundness Act of 1992, U.S. federal housing has identified matters that are important or that are appropriate for the referral to the U.S. Department of Justice for consideration of criminal prosecution. Based on media reports, Mr. Adam B. Schiff has, in multiple instances, falsified bank documents and property records to acquire more favorable loan terms, impacting payments from 2003 to 2019 for a Potomac, Maryland-based property. This goes through and outlines everything in terms of the background, the full analysis, and everything else. He has now been criminally referred to the Department of Justice. And I got to be honest with you, people. I don't have a lot of confidence in whether or not this is going to go anywhere. I don't have a lot of confidence that Obama is going to be held accountable for all of his wrongdoings. I don't have a lot of confidence in the fact that the American people are going to be, and by that I mean the American populace as a whole, is going to be able to stomach what absolutely has to happen here in order for these people to be brought to justice under the letter of the law. I don't have that confidence. I certainly hope it happens. I would certainly pray that it happens, but I don't have a lot of confidence that these Democrat, lunatic, leftist, now criminal morons are going to be held accountable for their actions. Because unfortunately, as much as I love the idea that, the FBI, the DOJ is being run by people with at least a outward sense of integrity, I don't feel that our justice system is in the proper position to be able to allow them to get what they deserve and be put into jail for all of this. These people need to be taught a lesson, and unfortunately, I don't think that the American populace is ready or willing to do what must be done in the sense, or in the proper sense, of holding these people accountable. And even if so, when you look at somebody like Obama, who is literally almost godlike in the leftist lunatics' minds, they keep blaming us on the right, on the MAGA side, saying that, yeah, you guys think Donald Trump is Jesus. He's your orange Jesus. Well, I hate to tell you this, folks. Barry Hussein Obama is just as bad for the left. Those people worship that man. They worship that man. They would kiss his feet just to get the opportunity to meet with him. And he is probably one of the most corrupt and despicable people in this world today. And he deserves to go down for all of the things that he has done, for all of the crap that he has pulled against our country. He needs to go down. And I am not that confident that the American populace as a whole is ready for that. All right. So the Wall Street Journal, of course, put out this reference to this letter that supposedly Donald Trump wrote. They didn't bother to produce the letter. They didn't bother to put a facsimile of it anywhere in the paper. They described it, though, and so there are some cheap fakes out there that are running around that are, supposedly, this is what Donald Trump did. No, nobody really knows because nobody has seen the actual letter and it's not even been verified. Donald Trump says he didn't write it. Well, the American people may be at least providing a little bit of accountability to the Wall Street Journal. Here in LifeSet, and believe me, they deserve this if this comes back as being completely false. And even if it comes back as being true, who the hell cares? It was written back in the 90s, late 90s, early 2000s, when everybody knows that Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein knew each other. They have photos of them hanging out together. We know that Donald Trump, again, as I pointed out in the very beginning of the show in my opening monologue, we know Donald Trump is a mud monster. We know that he has said things that some people might find despicable. We know that he has treated, women in particular as a typical misogynistic, chauvinistic person would. We know this. It's not like this is anything really brought new to the party. But the left seems to believe that, this is the silver bullet that's going to bring down Trump. Why? Why? Every man that I am aware of, even the most pious and godly men, have participated in dirty talk when they were younger, when they were teenagers. Nobody is immune from this kind of thing. And some men, unfortunately, carry it off into their young adult lives. And this is nothing of a surprise. How this is even a story is even beyond me. But apparently, according to LifeSet, the Wall Street Journal may have stepped on a rake with this. Readers apparently are unsubscribing, according to them, en masse. Here's an example. So there was a individual, Molly, from Molly Hemingway. She shows on X just way too much money for that level of quality, she says. She's the editor-in-chief of The Federalist. And she shows a screenshot of the subscription being canceled. Representative Randy Fine issued a statement shortly after the article's release. Said that I'll be introducing legislation at the end of the House to end the House Representatives subscription contract with the Wall Street Journal. Americans shouldn't be paying for disgusting and filthy rags. He says, I have also directed my entire staff to delete their taxpayer-funded Wall Street Journal accounts. There's another person, Jellene, Jellenne, or Jellene. However, she posted, Good morning at Wall Street Journal. I regret to inform you that due to your lack of journalistic ethics, extreme bias, and perpetuation of a series of propaganda hoaxes, I have canceled my decades-long subscription and those for my company and staff. Another person goes, canceling the Wall Street Journal subscription today after 35 years, it's a shadow of what it once was anyhow. Media personality Laura Loomer. I'm calling BS on this Trump birthday letter to Epstein. It's totally fake. Everyone who actually knows President Trump knows he doesn't type letters. He writes notes in big black Sharpie. Trust me, I would know. Yeah. Anyway, another person, even Elon Musk got into it. Elon Musk is like, hey, it really doesn't sound like something Trump would say, to be honest. Yeah. And, of course, we know Donald Trump did file the suit. So we're going to see where this is going and what this is going to happen, what's going to happen out of this. And this is absolutely asinine that we even have to do this. But, you know, the Wall Street Journal, everybody who's like, oh, Rupert Murdoch owns the Wall Street Journal, which he does. But they all talk about, oh, yeah, Rupert Murdoch is, you know, Donald Trump's best friend. Why he has to. This is all the left, by the way. He has to have something before doing that. No, he doesn't. The Wall Street Journal turned a hard left. The only thing that is good in terms of the Wall Street Journal happens to be the opinion pages. And even then, that's even questionable. Telling you folks, it's going to get worse before it gets better. That's all I got to say. Okay, we got to be prepared for this. Got to be prepared for all of the crap that is going to be coming out in the next several months, because I guarantee you, before this first year is over, there's going to be a lot of revelations, a lot of things that are going to show up, and there's going to be a lot more of the fact that the conspiracy theorists turn out to be spoiler alerts. All right. Let's go ahead and get on for tonight's question of the week. And tonight's question of the week comes to us from the wonderful blood and platelet donating 3 Chevy. Here's what 3 Chevy writes. Good evening, Rick. My question concerns the Ban on Inkless Directives and Executive Notarizations Act of 2025, otherwise known as the Biden Act. If they attempt to use this to nullify any of Biden's pardons or other legislation, how would that square with the concept of ex post facto? Thanks again, as always, for all the work you put into this broadcast. 3 Chevy. All right. So, first of all, let's talk a little bit about the concept of ex post facto. All right. Ex post facto is a legal term. That legal term basically comes from Latin, which is translated to from a thing done forward. Okay? A thing done afterward. Okay? In the legal context, ex post facto is most typically used to refer to a criminal statute that punishes actions retroactively, meaning that criminalizing conduct that was legal when the act was actually performed. So, for an example, let's just say that, cheating on your taxes and dropping a gun in a barrel at a high school. Okay, those two things that Hunter Biden did. Let's just say that those actually weren't illegal, and that the Congress decided to make them illegal just to go after Hunter Biden. And so they made him illegal, and now there is a criminal penalty assigned to it. And so they would go back to Hunter Biden. They would go back to those events in Hunter Biden's life, and they would say, oh, you did those, and now you're going to pay. Okay? Well, here's the problem. All right? Or here's the thing. We have a concept in this country that basically states that no, you cannot apply a punishment for a criminal act that was done prior to the act being considered criminal. And this comes from Article 1, Section 9, and Section 10, that basically states that in the Constitution, by the way, and let me go ahead and pull this and get this open here. And it's going to, so Article 1, which is under Congress, Section 9, okay. There it is. So Section 9, which basically said, and it's item 3, it's this guy right here. So it basically says, no bill of attainder or ex post facto law shall be passed. And then it says, it also carries over, by the way, to the states as well. So it's basically limiting Congress. So that's the first one. It limits Congress from passing any laws which apply ex post facto. And then under Section 10, Article 1, it says that it prohibits the states from passing any laws which apply ex post facto. But here's the thing, and this was discussed a couple different times in the Federalist Papers, by the way. The whole purpose of the ex post facto law was that somebody could not get punished for something that they did prior to the law being considered a criminal act. And so here's the difference. If you look at, and I'm going to show it to you, if you look at this bill, which has been proposed for this Congress, for the 119th Congress, to amend Title III in the United States Code to clarify presidential functions may not be delegated or carried out using any automated equipment. There is a key provision that is missing here. Just like under Title IV, where Title IV talks about the proper way to display the United States flag and not use it for things like clothing or bedding or any of those kinds of things that you have to have a light illuminated on it at night. While granted, those are considered United States codes, they are considered law, there is no criminal penalty for breaking it. And that's where the difference comes in. This calls out and just says that there is no delegation or use of the auto pen. So in other words, the president has to use it. The president has to do it. And it talks about prior actions being that anything that was done in the past by auto pen is immediately null and void as a law. But there's no criminal penalty assigned to it. So therefore, there is no ex post facto effect necessarily for this. Because again, keep in mind, ex post facto is pointing to the punishment for the crime, not that the crime itself was written in such a way and written to be backdated. It's the punishment for the crime that everybody was concerned about. And so if this were to go to court, granted, it sounds like I'm splitting hairs here, and believe me, I got to tell you, I'm getting pretty damn close to splitting hairs on this. But the reality of it is, if there's no punishment for the crime, then there's no risk of an ex post facto punishment for breaking that law. All this bill is basically saying is that, hey, moving forward, only the president can lawfully sign in his or her hand, and that they can't use the automatic signing device in order to do it. And then it says, beyond that, it says that anything that was signed by AutoPen that falls under these categories, they were in violation of it, okay? And because of that, they are no longer going to have any force or effect. In other words, they're null and void. But it doesn't mention anything in terms of criminal punishment for who did it. All it basically says is it's not allowed anymore. And so because of that, I think that legally speaking, you could weasel around the idea of the ex post facto. Yeah, all right. That was a fantastic one, 3 Chevy. Wow. I really had to kind of think that one through, so I do appreciate that. Hey, if you want to put in your question of the week for me for next week, All you need to do is get that question and send it off to me. Send it to fans, F-A-N-S, at AmericanPerspective.online. That's fans at AmericanPerspective.online. All right, folks, that is it for me for this week. Whew, it's been a busy one. I can't wait until Monday. We will see you on Monday, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on American Perspective. Do me a favor, if you haven't already, head on over to rumble.com, get yourself an account. It is free. And once you have an account and are signed in, please search up the American Perspective channel and hit that green follow button to get notified every time I go live. Also, before you take off, don't forget to hit those thumbs up, or if you really want to, thumbs down, across all of my platforms, whether it's X, YouTube, Facebook, and, of course, the aforementioned Rumble. As I just said, we will see you on Monday, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on American Perspective. Have a great rest of your weekend, and good night, everybody.